2023 will be known in the world of stand-up as the year of the YouTube comedy special, or alternatively, the independent era. With podcasts hitting a peak, more comedians have become less dependent on networks and streaming platforms, with some more so than others. I'm a fan of stand-up comedy and decided to put together a list of specials to chat about today as a sort of end-of-the-year overview. I've seen all of these specials and left anything I did not off the list, although I will add these were just the ones I could really think of as I was making this. At the end, I'll chat about my general opinion of stand-up in 2023 going into 2024 and how it sits in pop culture. Are we in store for more laughs or less? And all that good stuff. So stay tuned for the end if you care about all that. Without further ado, here is 2023 stand-up comedy in review. Big Jay Oakerson, Dog Belly. This special is now Kevin Hart approved. I saw Jay live in Florida shortly after he filmed this special, and the show was great. I took my dad, who loves comedy like me, and a number of other friends came along as well. Dog Belly is a great special, and like many others on the list, it is on YouTube for free. Live at Webster Hall is my favorite Big J special, but it has been replaced by Dog Belly. I enjoyed this special through and through, with my main takeaway being that it was a uniquely Big Jay Oakerson special. I could not see any other comedian doing any of this material. It was definitely one of my favorites for 2023. Chris Rock, Selective, Outrage. I, like many others, waited for this special with excitement because of the Will Smith slap. Chris was quiet after the slap, as many wanted his opinion. He used it to market this special, but he made a few errors. He chose to do the special on Netflix, and for the first time ever, Netflix would stream the special live. This would mean that any mistakes made would be definitive for the people watching at home. This resulted in the punchline of the special being flubbed by Chris Rock, something that would be called out by comics and fans alike, as well as the media. On another note, Chris Rock had little to say in response to Will Smith assaulting him, other than what had already been said online by others, while he was being silent for the most part. This has got to be the worst Chris Rock special to date, in my opinion. Mark Normand, Soup to Nuts. Mark Normand has been killing it, and is another comic that has some truly unique material that only he could perform. Special Soup to Nuts is a great special, on par, if not better, than Out to Lunch. It's actually hard for me to pick between the two. I will give a slight edge to Out to Lunch, but it is close. Mark has created a unique style in comedy with two great specials, one after the other. His fans have been very happy. Andrew Santino, Cheeseburger. My brother is a big fan of Andrew's podcast with Bobby Lee, Bad Friends, and he was the one who mentioned this special, so I decided to take a look. I was surprised by how much I found myself feeling like I'd heard these jokes before. Not the same material as a whole, but more like the material could be done by anyone. He covers COVID, something at this point that feels kind of played out to me. The rest of the material, sadly, also seems played out to a point, feeling like the type of comedy I could hear from any comic around today. Between acting and podcasting, I have to wonder if Andrew's been putting enough time into stand-up. Joe List, Enough for Everybody. This special is great, so great YouTube demonetized it because Joe said the C word in the first 10 minutes. Joe does a good job of creating a club environment for this special. It has all the Joe-isms that fans of him on podcasts want to see on stage. He's certainly an underrated comic for sure. I definitely recommend this one. Tom Segura, Sledgehammer. Sledgehammer is Tom Segura doing what his fans love best. If you're a fan of his podcast, you will like this special. If not, I don't think I would recommend this one over Mostly Stories or even Ball Hog. I like this special, but I definitely don't think it's his best one. I don't think it really stands out in his catalog. Nick Mullen, Year of the Dragon. This one came out just recently. I watched it the day after it premiered on YouTube and really enjoyed it. I'd say to go check it out. There's not really a ton to say. I don't want to give away jokes, but he covers a whole gambit of things that you'd expect to see from Nick Mullen. I definitely would suggest listening to it. I have seen some people complaining about it, but really I think it's the fact that Nick decided to cover some things that I think people, again, might be a little bit tired of hearing. He talks about COVID and some of those topics, but it is done in a really good way. I like it. The material was good. Definitely check it out. Matt McCusker, The Speed of Light. Matt McCusker released his first special ever in 2023 with The Speed of Light. Now, I'll say it is a hilarious special that I do not think anyone would believe is his first. I was not sure if I was going to enjoy this one. Matt on his show with Shane is great, and I have seen some of his stand-up before, but nothing more than about 15 minutes. I ended up surprised with a kick-ass special that I'd recommend to anyone. Shane Gillis, Beautiful Dogs. Shane Gillis spit in the face of cancellation getting a special Beautiful Dogs on Netflix, and it was great. Shane has been killing it in comedy, and this special adds to it. I definitely was concerned that Shane's comedy would take a hit, being that Netflix might force him to cut jokes, but that was not the case. I definitely recommend this one. It is a very Shane Gillis special. These next ones I want to run through as a group. These are the Gas Digital Network 30-minute specials, including Louis J. Gomez, Kurt Metzger, Rich Voss, Colin Terrell, Dave Smith, and Jordan Jensen. I enjoyed all of these specials, but we do need to talk a little bit about what worked and what didn't. It is pointed out by many of the comics in the specials that the room was incredibly hot, and it shows. This was due to AC units at the venue being down. There was also a number of audio issues. The truth is, most of the issues with any of these specials had nothing to do with the material, but rather the conditions it was filmed in or the people working the boards. Out of all of them, my favorite was probably Colin Terrell's, maybe Jordan Jensen's as well. But I really liked all of these. I think they were all good, and it shows that these sort of shorter YouTube specials can work, because the view counts on these were pretty good, in my opinion, for what they are and for the names that were behind them. So I definitely enjoyed these. I would suggest checking them all out. They're all worth watching. None of them are really bad. None of them, I will say, are like specifically better or worse than the others. So yeah, go check those out. So I'm putting a placeholder here because there are going to be some people who are going to say, why didn't you talk about Dave Chappelle's new special? Dave Chappelle released a new special on December 31st. I don't even think many people know this special is out because it's New Year's. People are paying attention to that. No one's really paying attention to Netflix. At least I wasn't. So I haven't got a chance to watch this special, but I'm going to, and I might even do an independent review on the channel or something along those lines. But if you want to know my opinion of it, the day that I see it, I will post it on my Twitter, which will be linked down below. So if you want to know my opinion on it, check me out down there, and go follow me. Why not? Yes, this is a plug for that, and you should, because I'm almost at 2,000 followers, so you can help me get there. But I said I would talk a bit about where stand-up comedy is at in 2023, going into 2024. Where do I think we're going with all this stuff? Well, it is an election year, and because of that, if anybody remembers what happened to stand-up comedy in 2016, I think we're going to see a microcosm or an attempt to bring that back. What I'll call an attempt to return to woke comedy. I think we're going to begin to see a little bit of the uptick of the cancel culture that we saw throughout the previous era. And I think a lot of that is driven by political culture and the political climates that exist. Ultimately, I think this will fail. I think comedy is at a point now where it is done with this cancel culture sort of charade that has been performed within these big cities where comedy sort of congregates. The only places where people really care about cancel culture are New York and Los Angeles. And for the most part, I think New York has given up on the whole cancel culture thing within the comedic sort of culture. It seems to be that still exists to a degree in Los Angeles, but it doesn't really matter because a lot of the Los Angeles base that anybody cared about took off and went to Houston and is beginning to make that a sort of comedy area. Now, I'm not sure how a lot will go throughout 2024. I know a lot of people are bullish on Houston. I'm not really necessarily. I think that area kind of sucks. So as good as the comedy can be, I don't know whether you can convince people to live in an area that kind of blows. But it's weird to see where comedy is at. We're definitely in an era where I think people can say what they want on stage again, which is sort of nice. But I'm hesitant to say that we ever actually left an era where you couldn't say whatever you wanted. It seems to me that a lot of the cancel culture era of comedy was invented by comedians. Basically, it made it marketable to say that your material was cancelable. So I think that's definitely something people are going to take note of as time goes on with comedy, because you sort of realize at some point that, again, the people who are giving power to cancel mobs weren't really Netflix and the big streaming platforms, but rather the comedians sort of around these comics as a whole. It's sort of a weird parasitic situation that went on in a lot of those cancel cases.